and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is hour 2 of John Bachman Now. We're glad to have you with us. We'll get to Meme Team and Worst Takes coming up this hour as well. But we start with Republicans ramping up their efforts to hold the Biden intelligence community and the feds accountable. Yesterday, FBI Director Christopher Wray and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas testified in front of the Senate Oversight Committee. Republicans pressed Mayorkas on the border crisis. They also called out Wray over his use of the FBI's private plane for vacations. Take a listen to this exchange between the director of the FBI and Senator Josh Hawley.
The use of the plane, I am required, not just permitted, required, even for personal travel, to use the FBI plane.
How convenient for you.
I pay every single time that I use the plane for personal use.
I'm glad it's available for you to jet away from your statutorily required hearings and oversight before this Congress, where you denied the ability of members of Congress to ask you questions because you had to go on a personal vacation using a government plane.
You may remember there was a hearing where Wray said he had to leave and that he couldn't continue his testimony because he had to catch a plane. Of course, it was that private plane. Now, Wray maintains he has no choice. It is his obligation to use that special FBI jet, but Republicans say the plane is intended for counterterrorism purposes only. Now, also during that hearing with Wray and Mayorkas stressed the ongoing threat posed by domestic extremism and terrorism and foreign powers, but also during the 2024 presidential announcement at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump also pointed out a different threat.
Threats to our civilization are not from abroad, but from within. None is greater than the weaponization of the justice system, the FBI and the DOJ. We must conduct a top-to-bottom overhaul to clean out the festering rot and corruption of Washington, D.C.
Now, since President Trump's speech on Tuesday, Fox News and the rest of the Murdoch media empire have come out against his campaign pretty hard. There was that Wall Street Journal op-ed that read this: "Oh, Trump believes in yesterday. He applauds himself and promises more of the same, but voters want something new." Also, the New York Post, which is owned by the Murdochs, didn't waste a minute to tear down Donald Trump after he announced his 2024 bid. Wednesday morning's front page read, "In the lower bar, Florida man makes announcement." They downplayed it. Here's some of the story, which was given a small sidebar column on page 26. With just 720 days to go before the next election, a Florida retiree made a surprise announcement that he was running for president in a move no political pundit saw coming. Obviously, sarcasm intended there. Avid golfer Donald Trump kicked things off at Mar-a-Lago, his resort and classified documents library. Ha ha. Now, the attacks against Trump did not end there. Of course, take a listen to how Fox News covered this week's big announcement.
A nation on the brink.
Florida was a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. We stood as a citadel of freedom for people across this country and indeed across the world.
While our nation struggled, Florida thrived.
Okay, obviously that's the wrong clip. We'll get to that one in just a moment. That's a PAC ad running on behalf of Ron DeSantis. But let's get back to President Trump's announcement and welcome in a man who I had the pleasure of seeing and speaking with on Tuesday night, Sebastian Gorka. He is the host of the Gorka Reality Check here on Newsmax, airing Sundays at 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. in case you miss it at 7 p.m. Great to see you, Seb.
It was great to see you at Mar-a-Lago. What a night it was.
Yeah, let's start with that soundbite that we played from President Trump. You know, I don't know if you watched the testimony this week from Mayorkas and Wray, both in the House and the Senate. It's just like the election integrity issue. Until Americans feel like the FBI is actually working for them, our country is going to continue down this path where most people, like 3/4 of this nation, feel like we're headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah, what was it? Right after Mar-a-Lago, I was so incensed because before I joined the administration, I'd spent 5-6 years working very closely with the FBI, John. I had the only external contract to provide counterterrorism training on Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And I got to know a lot of the agents, and I trained thousands of them. And when I saw the Mar-a-Lago raid, then the Houck raid against that pro-life father, I said, this is it. This has become a political police force for the DNC. And I designed something that my producers on my radio show said, Seb, that's a little bit extreme. This This is the hottest selling item on my website. It says Joe Biden's Gestapo, the FBI, from Germany to America in 80 years. The idea that, oh, the nuclear secret story, whatever happened to that, John? Do you remember the nuclear secret? We found out this week from the Washington Post, there were no nuclear secrets.
And isn't it interesting how that happened, Seb, that the same people that leaked the information about the raid and ginned up all this stuff about the nuclear codes perhaps being at Mar-a-Lago quietly leaked out the information to the Washington Post again that, yeah, there was just some mementos, you know, nothing really there at Mar-a-Lago after all.
Which you know, there's two scenarios to that story. The unnamed sources in the intelligence community who at the beginning said, it's nuclear codes, it's Espionage Act, it's selling secrets to foreign powers. Either those sources didn't exist, John, and the lying legacy media just manufactured them out of whole cloth, or we do have a deep state and the members of the intelligence community lied, and now 3 months later they can't substantiate it. And that is the definition of a permanent state. That is the definition. When you are part of the intelligence community and you're targeting not only a former president, on Tuesday you were there, you witnessed history happening. He is now the favorite candidate for the next presidential nomination for the Republican Party, because a little factoid for, you know, the Murdoch rhinos on a leash at Fox and at the New York Post. My old boss got more votes than any incumbent president in American history. So when you hear this, you know, man who likes golfing or retiree, you mean the guy who got 74 million votes, that guy who likes to golf? These people have made a decision to get in bed with the rhino establishment, with the Democrats, and it's really pathetic, John. I used to like the New York Post. I used to work at Fox. Guys, what are you doing?
Well, that's the same thing they basically did last time in 2015. They tried to clip Donald Trump's wings before he took flight. And then the rest of the media got on board with that same type of mentality, kind of switched after he became the front runner for the nomination. But we see the same players doing the same thing again. The Murdoch-owned properties, the National Review. We'll see what happens. I want to show a picture of us, Seb, at the event on Tuesday night. I wanted to show this because I'm 6'3", and you're a giant man, too. Everyone saw this picture, and they said, John, you're tiny. But no, this was a lot of fun, and I love this picture, too. But I want to go back to...
It's camera angles. It's the magic of the selfie camera angles, right?
It is. It's the high angle. But what else did you take away from President Trump's speech? And why do you think he is the odds-on frontrunner right now?
So, number one, look, God bless Ron DeSantis. If you live in Florida, you've had a very good couple of years. But I don't care who you pick. Pick any name, Democrat or Republican. There is nobody who's got a pulse breathing in America right now who can literally fill a stadium with 50,000 people in 48 hours. There's one guy who can do that. It's President Trump. Doesn't matter where in the country. I've seen him do it in the Rust Belt, in Youngstown, Ohio. He can do it anywhere. Nobody has the capacity to mobilize like he does. And when it comes to Tuesday, guys, if you haven't watched the footage from Newsmax, watch the hour-long speech. I've posted it on all my Twitter feeds, my Facebook feeds. There's a moment. It's like 15 when he won the election, when he stood up at the RNC and he said, well, do you know what Hillary's campaign slogan is? I'm with her. And then he looks at the camera, John, and he says, you know what? I'm with you. That's when he won. On Tuesday, he said, this isn't my campaign. This is your campaign to rescue America. And there's that moment where he stood away from the podium. He put his hand on his heart. I'm getting goosebumps reciting it now. And he said, we are going to restore pride in America. John, that's what we need. After the last 2 years and then the next 2 years, people are going to be desperate for some normalcy in America.
Yes, the word of the night was glory, returning America to glory, the gloriness. I think I counted 5 or 6 references to glory in that speech. We'll keep watching what goes on with the 2024 presidential campaign. It's already begun. And, of course, we'll be watching Reality Check with Sebastian Gorka as well this weekend. Great to see you, Seb.
God bless. Thanks, John.
All right.